Hello and welcome, Transformers fans. This is Achimi1010 doing another Transformers discussion video. And before we get into it, I would like to let y'all know that I'm recording my voice with my phone. I don't got that kind of money like that to order a mic. Plus, I want to get this video out as quickly as I can. Also, please forgive my voice. This is my first time actually using it. So if it makes you cringe and all that, like, I can completely understand that. As opposed to me doing to text-to-speech. It may sound like I have a stuffy nose, or it may sound like I'm reading, but I can assure you it's not like that at all. I'm just like reading from a script and I'm doing my best to work with it. And sometimes I may end up stumbling on my words, and I would have to edit that out or do retakes. So if you hear stuff where it cuts out, you'll know why. Lastly, there may be times I would ramble on, so please bear with me. This is my first video doing with my own voice. And finally, swear to promise this is my last one. I'm trying to reach 400 subs, so please, if you like this video or even like this channel, please consider subscribing. Share it with other Transformers fans, even Transformers YouTubes like probably Rodimus Primal, Kata McCann, Diamond Bolt, whoever. I will always do my best to entertain you guys, even if this video ends up being slag iron. So let's just move on.
Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more groovy videos. Now if you'll excuse me, we got a war to win.
Alright everybody, so today I want to talk about a Bayverse character who is very well known, but is kind of underrated if you really think about it.
Our medical officer, Ratchet. The boy's pheromone levels suggest he wants to mate with the female.
Now, when I was a kid, I didn't mind Ratchet at all. I saw him as a minor character who was just there doing things. Not in a negative way, but a meh kind of way. But that all changed, like, when Age of Extinction came out.
A new era has begun. The age of the Transformers is over.
I gotta be honest with myself, when I first saw the trailer, back when I was about 14 years old, I was like, wait a second, is Ratchet gonna die? Because I'm pretty sure that any human with a working processor can predict what would happen to this character. I had like a sense of fear and concerning, thinking to myself, oh my god, he's actually gonna die? But they can't do that. Why would they kill Ratchet? But I kind of got to thinking a little bit, maybe he just takes a little bit of damage and he can manage to get away somehow. And for those who watch Age of Extinction, well, you pretty much know what happened after that.
What's wrong with you humans? No, please. Never. Never is here.
Ratchet's death really made me sad. Not sadder than Ironhide's, because I was bawling my eyes out when he died. The way how I can describe it is, if you ever seen a cartoon character so sad that they look depressed, I can't tell you, like I was in utter shock when that happened. And fast forward for years later, I watched Kamikaze's Ratchet tier list video, and when he got to the Bayverse Ratchet design, I said to myself, they treated him respectfully and dirty at the same time. Ratchet did nothing wrong. Which, I'll say it again, Ratchet did nothing wrong. Hashtag justice for Ratchet. But come to think of it, Ratchet as a character throughout the Bayverse, he didn't exactly do much as a character. I'm like, yeah, don't get me wrong, he's done like a few dialogues and you see him do some shooting. But one of my questions is that I've been thinking is, why do I like this character? Yeah, his design is cool and unique, obviously, but realistically speaking, why do I like this character at all? We barely know anything about him, and that goes as far as almost every other character throughout the Bayverse. Almost. He's either just standing there, running, shooting, or giving minimal dialogue. We don't know much about his personality well enough. We don't know what he wants, his motivations for being an Autobot, his background history. I mean, like, before anyone says the comics, like, I'm not even sure if that's necessarily canon. I mean, like, for spark's sake, he hasn't even repaired or operated a single Autobot. Like, what is the point of him being a medical officer if we haven't seen him repair or operate on anyone? And for those who are saying he helped combine Optimus and Jetfire to defeat the Fallen, he was telling Joe what to do. That was all. Imagine if I was a firefighter and I tell you as a random citizen to take that hose and take that hose from the fire truck and use it against the fire. I may be a firefighter, but I sure as hell ain't one. Bayverse Ratchet is cool. I just wish that he actually would do some medical fieldwork type stuff and repair some actual Autobots. The first movie, when he lasered Bumblebee, I don't even think that would count because that was basically a checkup and he never got around Bumblebee's voice box. Plus, it was like a one-time thing. And like I know like there are plenty of other YouTubers, Transformers YouTubers out there who probably reworked around Ratchet's character, explaining how they would make the character better or how they would interpret him. And I kind of got my own version of how they can actually make Ratchet a better character. I have plenty of ideas to write or rewrite most characters, including Ratchet's for this case. For starters, Ratchet is a medical officer, right? So how can we barely see him do any medical fieldwork? Instead, we're being told that he is one. There's a reason why the saying "show don't tell" is a thing. I said it before, but where was the time where Ratchet actually fixed or operated on someone? I know someone's gonna say he probably repaired the Autobots off screen. How do you think Bumblebee got his legs back? And how do you think Optimus got his arm back before Age of Extinction? I'm pretty sure I would rather see Ratchet do medical officer stuff rather than being told that he is one. I brought up the fireman example, so here's how I would handle Ratchet's character. Like in this case. As far as the first movie goes, I would keep Ratchet relatively the same, but in the Mission City, I would have him do something similar like in the Alliance comics, because I would like to use some inspiration off of that, as in to make Ratchet's character more relevant. Now, after Bumblebee's legs got blown off by Starscream, Sam yells at Ratchet, which he quickly arrives in his ambulance mode. He transforms and runs to Bumblebee's aid, looking at how badly the damage is. I would also like for Ratchet to have some kind of scanner to indicate how serious the damage is. Sam asks, is Bumblebee going to be okay? Ratchet responds, his legs are in serious bad shape. I would need time to make some repairs. Sam tells Bumblebee that he's going to be okay multiple times. It'll be something like in a comic panel right here, where Ratchet actually repairs Bumblebee's legs. Next scene is where Brawl attacks. Brawl comes in and starts firing in his tank mode, almost hitting Ratchet while he's trying to repair Bumblebee. Ratchet yells to Ironhide and Jazz, "Hey guys, I'm getting shot to pieces here. Somebody get this guy off my back." Brawl fires another round at Ratchet, but Jazz swoops in, blocking the shot with his shield. Jazz and Ironhide orchestrate a plan to distract Brawl in order to buy Ratchet time. Before engaging in battle, Jazz says, ready to bust a move on his con. Ironhide replies, "You of all bots should know that taking out punk-ass Decepticons is my specialty," while he twirls his cannons like he did earlier in the movie. Later, while Jazz and Brawl are duking it out with Brawl, they quickly underestimate the might and firepower of Brawl. Jazz contacts Ratchet, asking for his assistance because of how tough he is. There is a bit of an argument about Ratchet not wanting to leave Bumblebee, but B tells Ratchet that they need him. He'll be fine. Ratchet tells both Sam and Michaela that Bumblebee needs to be moved to a safe location in order to continue repairing him. They do so, and Ratchet moves in to help Ironhide and Jazz take down Brawl. He cuts Brawl's arm off with his buzzsaw and shoots him a couple of times, causing him to do a backflip. The next scene is where Megatron comes in. Jazz is trying to hold off Megatron to protect the other humans in Megatron's way. Ratchet and Lennox tells Jazz to fall back, but is overpowered by Megatron's might. Megatron quickly snatches Jazz up like a hawk and flies away. Ironhide tries to shoot down Megatron, but is unsuccessful. Now, I would keep the scene with Ironhide and Ratchet helping Sam to get to the building, but I would kind of add a few more to both Ironhide and Ratchet as a duo and make them watch each other's backs. Even attacking Blackout for trying to kill Sam, which will lead to a small scuffle. They could do some kind of dynamic move which will temporarily take down Blackout, which will force him to leave. Starscream will be giving a dialogue screaming,
Die, Autobots! Do you really believe you have enough power to beat me? You're too weak to do anything! Foolish insects! Don't waste my time!
This shows how much of a threat Starscream is. Starscream will eventually be overpowered by the combination of Ratchet and Ironhide, significantly damaging him, forcing him to flee. The next scene is going to be a bit comical, but we'll transition to an emotional scene. Ratchet will be shown repairing Ironhide, maybe taking a couple of bullets out of him that is lodged in his chest so he can self-heal. And before anyone says anything,
it's like a self-regenerating molecular armor.
they have a little banter about Ratchet needing repairs himself, but Ratchet responds, "I put others' life before my own." Now here is where I would add a funny scene and a little reference to Pulp Fiction. Remember the Allspark mutations that showed up but was never seen again, except in the comics? Yeah, I would have the Allspark mutations try to pick a fight with both Ironhide and Ratchet, but both Ironhide and Ratchet look at each other in disbelief and instantly kill them. After Ironhide and Ratchet terminated the Allspark mutations, they either walk or transform back to Bumblebee so they can repair him. I would like to add a little out-of-universe reasoning where they talk about why didn't one of them transform into vehicle mode so Sam can ride in one of them while the other escorts in robot mode. Now here is where we get the emotional scene. Ratchet tells Ironhide to hit the brakes. Ironhide responds, "What's the sitch?" Ratchet transforms and walks towards Jazz's lower torso and says, "Ironhide, these are Jazz's legs." Ironhide transforms and says, but if that's his legs, then where is..." The camera pans to Ironhide's face as he is in disbelief and says, "Oh no," only to find the remaining of Jazz's body. Ironhide picks up Jazz's torso and asks Ratchet that if there's anything he can do, even though it's clear that he's gone. Ratchet lowers his head and shakes his head. He's gone. There's no life left in his spark. Michaela quickly arrives with Bumblebee in the tow truck and tells Ratchet that he's gotta fix Bumblebee's legs and fast. Ratchet slowly takes out his welding tool and begins operating on Bumblebee's legs. Bumblebee then looks at a sad Ironhide holding Jazz's body and asks, "What happened, Doc?" Ratchet responds, "Something we wish would have never happened." After that, the rest of the final battle will take place with Megatron being killed by Sam. After Jazz's funeral will be another emotional scene where the Autobots mourn their comrade's death, having his cargo crate with his name on it, like in the comics. During the funeral speech by Optimus Prime, Ironhide will express his grief, saying that, "I wish I could have done something. I wish I could have been better. If only my aim would have been better, I could have brought down Megatron with a single shot and saved him." Ratchet informs him that there is nothing he could have done. He states, "We all wish we could have done something." Bumblebee blames himself for losing his legs and being a burden. Optimus wish he could have arrived sooner to help his teammates. Even I blame myself and wish I could have been a better and faster medical officer. I regret not being able to save Jazz when I had the chance. But you can't blame yourself for the things you can't control. We need to look forward and appreciate what we have now and the new allies we gain. And as they dump the cargo crate into the ocean, everyone salutes. Ratchet's final lines in the film will be, "I hope we see the last of that tyrannical barbarian." Optimus then replies, "I only wish that were true, Ratchet. I only wish that were true." Okay, this movie needs help. Without a doubt, it needs help. Like, a lot of help. I understand the whole writing strike thing that went down, but like in Pointless Hub's video,
in fact, it's kind of a fun fact regarding Transformers 2, how it was written during the 2007 writer's strike. Michael Bay in 2011 came clean about how he felt Transformers 2 sucked because of that strike. He said they only had 3 weeks to come up with the story, which to many, just everyone kind of shrugged and was like, wow, that explains it. This was something everyone can kind of just wipe their hands clean of because it was an extraordinary event. But here's the thing. And coming a little closer, I don't think the strike really contributed that much to this film sucking. Or at least as people think. Look, I get it. The strike had tremendous ripples in Hollywood. Entire productions were shut down, Lost was ruined, many television studios were on hold. It made waves. But it also only lasted 100 days. That's still a long time for television. It can derail some projects on a time schedule, but I don't think it derailed this one. Or at least to the extent that some may think.
For Revenge of the Fallen, there will be a few changes for the most part, for the sake of Ratchet's character, because in this movie, he barely did anything except shoot and give minimal dialogue. I would keep some of the Autobots and change a few here and there. Like for instance, the two deformed racist stereotypes, Skids and Mudflap. I know there are some people that like them, but personally, no, they just don't sit well. I'll replace them with Sideswipe and Sunstreaker. And in case if there's some kind of problem with the whole name train shenanigans, call Sunstreaker Sunslider or Lightstreaker. I have a couple of more names, but personally, if Sunstreaker had to be renamed, I would go with Sunslider. Videos for them will be another day. Okay, at the Nest base headquarters, the Autobots are having a training session for the new recruits. Ratchet, along with his new student Jolt, is training him and trying to teach him his new abilities with his electric whips, creating some kind of electromagnetism, which will be used later in the film. Both Ratchet and Jolt hear a bit of a commotion from Ironhide's side as he struggles with both Sideswipe and Sunstreaker due to the competitive nature. Ratchet tells Jolt he'll be right back and tells him to keep training. Sideswipe and Sunstreaker show themselves to be troublesome to Ironhide. Ironhide tells them to take 5. Ratchet will show up and let Ironhide know that they can be troublesome, but have faith in them. They'll learn eventually. Besides, you gotta admit, they are very skillful. Ironhide responds, yes, it is true. If only they use their talents responsibly. Hours after Megatron came back to life, Optimus gives a speech informing them that
somehow Palpatine returned.
It cannot be. The Emperor is dead.
Dark science. Cloning. Secrets only the Sith knew.
and understanding the reason why the Allspark shard was stolen, Ratchet saying, I knew it. I knew we should have kept the shard here with us. It was only a matter of time. Ironhide gives a quip saying,
when are we gonna start busting Decepticons?
Optimus responds, sooner than you think, Ironhide, because recently Bonebee has picked up a Decepticon energy signal near Sam's college. We must protect Sam from the Decepticons. Autobots, let's roll. The Autobots, including Ratchet, along with a small nest squad, will join them rolling out to Sam's location. Transition to the next scene. Ratchet senses that there are other Decepticons near the area, so Optimus splits the Autobots, having the rest of the Autobots take on the Decepticons while he takes Bonebee with him to retrieve Sam. After Prime secures Sam and drives off, Ratchet radios in Prime warning him that they will be delayed due to the Decepticons. Then they can show a 30-second scene of the Autobots fighting Grindor, Ravage, and a bunch of 3 Decepticon drones. Optimus informs him that he understands the situation and tells him that they'll meet, but Sam cuts him off yelling, "Here he comes!" Now after Prime's death, I'll add a scene of the Autobots in shock upon seeing Optimus' gray carcass. Ratchet runs to Optimus' body using his scanner, showing a flatline spark. Elita is shown weeping and begging Ratchet to please repair him. Ratchet responds, Prime's spark has been extinguished. RC and Chromia comforts Elita as they quite literally share her pain. If you know, you know. The scene where tensions were rising between the Autobots and the humans, trying to shut down Ness, I would keep mostly the same, but add the RC sisters. And keep the scene with Galloway trying to belittle and berate the Autobots, because you already know that he's an asshole about it. You already know that he expresses his xenophobia towards the Autobots. After that little fiasco, I would like to switch this dialogue.
Ironhide, we should leave this planet.
That's not what Optimus would want.
It would have been better if Ironhide said, Ratchet, we should leave this planet, and Ratchet responds, that's not what Optimus would have wanted. Because Ratchet seems like the character with common sense. Ratchet would be given more dialogue saying this was the Decepticons' plan to distract us, allowing them to gain the upper hand. The Autobots will talk about how Optimus was their last hope and how unsure what they would do. The next scene at the Ness headquarters, after Sam's informed Lennox about a possible way of bringing Prime back to life, Lennox will secretly inform them about it. Ratchet states, that's impossible. What does the boy have that can bring Prime back to life? Elita gleefully says, who cares if the boy can bring him back to life? I say we're with him. Ironhide responds, saying, Elita is right, Ratchet. If the boy has the manifolds to bring Prime back, then we'll do what we can to make it happen. Jolt can intervene, saying, okay, but what are we going to do with Mr. Xenophobe over there? Specifically talking to Galloway. Lennox tells the Autobots that he and the rest of Ness are orchestrating a plan for that old miserable miscreant. The Egypt scene would have stayed the same, but before the fight, Lennox would tell Ratchet to repair Optimus as much as he can. even if he's already dead, in order for Prime to come back to life, and Jolt will give him cover. With Ratchet still repairing Optimus while the battlefield is still going on, Jolt will announce that he sees Sam but ends up getting shot in the shoulder or somewhere in the chest. Ratchet quickly comes to his aid and pulls him aside in order to repair him as well. When Sam gets killed by Megatron, Ratchet and the rest of the Autobots are in despair at the loss of Sam. All of a sudden, Sam comes back to life and everyone is in shock. And they all watch as he brings Optimus Prime back from the dead. When Optimus comes to life, each Autobot will be given a certain line. Ratchet would say, "Thank you, Primus, for giving us a second chance." And I believe this is where I will let the rest of the movie play out on its own. Now, on to Dark of the Moon. Okay, this is going to be controversial to some people, but just hear me out. This will be an important part of Ratchet's character in Age of Extinction. I would let Ratchet's role be mostly the same, but I would make him a little bit more relevant. For instance, during the mission in Chernobyl, I don't know why Ratchet was there at all, because we didn't see him do a damn thing. So here's my interpretation. Optimus and Ratchet and Jolt, yes, I'm using Jolt for this, to at least give him some more character. They're there because of a Cybertronian relic, like in the film. Now once arriving there, Ratchet will express to Optimus that he has some kind of discomfort feeling about this area. Optimus reassures him that he understands where he's coming from, but they must push forward in order to pursue their goal. The rest of the human scenes can stay the same when the driller is about to approach. When the driller comes in doing a smash and grab, Jolt will be present there trying to defend the humans as much as he can. And once he has enough, he impales the driller and tries electrocuting the driller with his electric whips. The driller will be thriving in pain and trying to escape. Unfortunately, Jolt would be yanked and dragged as the driller tries to escape. The scene where Optimus fights the driller will stay the same, but Ratchet will appear and hears Jolt yelling that he needs assistance. Ratchet comes in to his aid. Now, I never brought this up, or I may have forgotten about this, but I don't know if Ratchet's laser is the one that cuts things or the type of laser that blinds you. So if it's the kind of laser that cuts, we could just simply have him cut the electric whips with his laser, and that would save Jolt. If it's the blinding kind, then I would have Ratchet get his circular saw out and try to cut a piece of chunk off of the driller, and both will be fling off into a building while Optimus does his business with the driller. Later on in the film, instead of Ironhide getting his back blown up by that asshole of a Prime, Jolt would have to be the one biting the dust.
Nigga, what?
Now I know some of the Jolt fanboys are going to question my decision making in this, but hey, at least I gave him some character development and made him more relevant, like in the last film. I'm sorry, but I love Ironhide too much to die like that. He's not going out like that. Besides, his death will be more meaningful to Ratchet and Dino's character. Again, you'll find out later in the video. As for the rest of the film, I will leave it the way it is. There will be some certain affairs where I will make Ratchet's character more relevant in Dark of the Moon, depending on which character I want to further explore on. But as of right now, I don't see anything wrong on how he's handled in Dark of the Moon. Now on to Age of Extinction. Before we get into it, I just want to let a couple of people know that despite how everyone feels about the film, I actually do quite enjoy it. I do like some of the concepts on how they went with it, but I just believe that they missed the mark with it. I feel like this would be similar to What If I Survived series by Trans Theories, which, by the way, Trans Theories, if you're watching this, please do another one of What If I Survived. It's been like 4 million solar cycles since you've done the last one. And please don't hate me because I want to do this for like half a year on my own version of What If Ratchet Survived Age of Extinction. Anyways, back to my point. I really like how Trans Theories did with this. I like the way how he handled with it, and I agree with the majority of how he went with it. For example,
Wind. But prior to this hunt, Ratchet sent a distress message that Ironhide received, and once Ironhide received this message, he made his way as fast as he could to Ratchet. And the time Ironhide made to Ratchet was Ratchet's interrogation. And this is how the new interrogation scene would work. Ironhide would drive up and transform by Ratchet, demanding what's going on. Cemetery Wind sees him as a threat and starts to shoot at Ironhide. This makes Ironhide very angry, so he blasted both of his guns into the ground to create a mini shockwave that immobilized some but not all the Cemetery Wind forces. During all this, Ratchet repaired his leg to be transformable again, but it was not 100% fixed. And seeing that there were 2 Autobots on the scene, Salvoy told Lockdown to shoot the stronger one. Of course, this was Ironhide, and the shot from Lockdown's blast went straight through Ironhide's back, severely damaging him. As the shots were being fired at them, Ratchet came to Hyde's aid, but Ironhide demanded that Ratchet would get out of there. But Ratchet hesitated by saying,
I will not let you die.
But Ironhide stuck to his word by saying,
Get out of here now.
Ratchet was heartbroken to leave Ironhide behind, but he knew it's what he wanted, and he wanted Ratchet to live on. Ratchet exchanged a last glance towards Ironhide, and he nodded while saying,
You were always the bravest of us. I'll eventually see you on the other side.
And then Ratchet sped off. After seeing that Ratchet got away, Ironhide finally got up saying,
I will tear you apart!
While in his rage, Salvoy requested backup, so Lockdown came up on the scene, with his hook out ready to stab Ironhide. Lockdown jumped in the air, but Ironhide seeing Lockdown fly towards him, he punched Lockdown square in the face, which knocked Lockdown back to the ground. After that, Ironhide killed the last remaining Cemetery Wind forces, and when he saw Salvoy running for his life, a smile accumulated on his face. As he picked up Salvoy, he said,
Why did I protect you insects again?
And then he crushed Salvoy with his bare hands. Lockdown used it to his advantage, and he got out his spark extractor, then shoved it towards Ironhide's spark chamber. With all his might, Ironhide tried to push back the extractor, but he was too weak from the stab wound, and he soon gave way. But before he did, he told Lockdown,
You may have won the battle, but not the war.
And after those words, the extractor extracted Ironhide's spark. After he killed him, Lockdown replied to his corpse,
We will see about that.
Seeing that this was his opportunity, he seized it and he booked it out of there. He sent out a distress message to see if any other Autobots were still out there, and to his surprise he got a message back from Bumblebee, stating that he, Hound, Crosshairs, and Drift were taking refuge in Monument Valley. Now fun fact, of the time of Ratchet's escape, he's in River Rouge, Michigan, and he has to make his way all the way to Monument Valley in Arizona, which is according to Google Maps a 28-hour drive. Now on this drive, Ratchet would alter his color scheme from white and green to white and red, to look more like a traditional ambulance, and as a throwback to his G1 color scheme.
Now this is a brilliant way of how to handle this scene. I'm not saying it's better or worse than how it was portrayed in the film, because Ratchet's death was a really tense situation where you're hoping that Ratchet may escape or someone will come to save him. But Michael Bay was like, yeah, get the fuck out of here with your bitch ass. Man, ain't no way getting saved around here. We're creating trauma now. Now this survival video is top notch, although there are a few nitpicks here and there where I would like to alter. Like for instance, where Ratchet gets blown out of the smokestacks, I would have him call for backup right there, just so that it could get some tensions where you can't tell any Autobot will come to save him or not. Even by an actual second later, someone does come to help him. It may feel cheap, but at least it will pay off considering how Cemetery Wind are. Because they're not ones to be trifled with, especially with Lockdown on their side. A bounty hunter who doesn't care that if you're an Autobot or a Decepticon. Also, I will leave Savoy alive along with a few who are badly injured, because as much as I hate this character, he serves as a purpose that kind of reflects Ratchet way later in the film. Savoy lost his sister in Chicago to a Cybertronian, and Ratchet lost his comrade to a bunch of crooked humans that didn't care which side he or any other Autobots were on. This movie will progress Ratchet's view on humanity. He'll be more cynical and understandably grumpy or bent out of shape, being more close to his animate and Transformers Prime counterpart. He and the other Autobots would share their gripes about humanity after getting shot and losing his comrade, not wanting to do with anything with humans, not even Cade, Tessa, and Shane, even though they helped Optimus. A couple of scenes later, where the Autobots express their grief and concerns on the rest of the Autobots, Ratchet will share his frustrations in trusting Cade, Tessa, and Shane in front of them, even thinking that they may be working undercover. Cade will elaborate on how much hot water they are in just as much as they are. Ratchet further acts passive-aggressive about the situation until Optimus comes into the human's defense saying, "Hey man, that's enough, Ratchet. We all understand and know what it's like to being sold down the river, but these three are the very reason why I still function. Disrespecting them means you're disrespecting me. Is that clear?" Ratchet scoffs, walking off, saying, "We'll see." Now fast forward to the KSI infiltration scene. Cade will show the whereabouts of Ironhide's remains. Ratchet will transform into his robot mode and feel utter anguish and survival's guilt in the background, while Prime also transforms, kneeling down trying to hold his frustration in and anger. But the look on his face says it all.
They slaughtered Ironhide.
During the KSI raid, when Joshua Joy says,
"Go ahead. Show us your true colors once and for all."
Ratchet will say, "After all we have done, saving this planet multiple times with you humans, and this is the thanks we get? Being hunted and melted for scrap, just so you hypocrites can make your own? What a bunch of savages." And while the Autobots are leaving, he can say, "Oh, and one more thing. I seen a human movie where people like you think you can play God and meddle things that you shouldn't be messing with, for only to backfire in your face. It would be a shame if that were to happen here," as a reference to the original Jurassic Park. For Optimus's rescue mission, once the Autobots enter lockdown ship, Ratchet can pull up a scanner to either locate Optimus or scan the ship for various booby traps. Once they locate Optimus, Ratchet and Drift will help release Optimus from the cage. Optimus will ask, "Where are the humans?" Ratchet will answer, "They're looking for the girl by themselves. They'll find her eventually. Let's just hurry up and get out of here while we still can. The humans can find their own way out." Optimus disagrees, saying, "No, we cannot leave Cade and the others," so he sends Bumblebee and Crosshairs to go find them. Later at the train station, Ratchet will be seen repairing Brains' leg. When Optimus reveals that Galvatron is Megatron, Ratchet will express his frustration, stating, "This is scrapping ridiculous. Why out of all Cybertronians he has to come back? Why can't one of our own can't just come back? Why can't he just stay offline?" Once Brain and Optimus explain Galvatron's plan, Tessa says,
"You knew this and you didn't warn them?"
Little girl, you can go to a pretty dark place when you're on death row.
Ratchet will respond, "I wouldn't blame him, not one bit. You humans think it's a good idea to kill our friends just to play God without any repercussions. And if I was in his situation, I'd keep quiet about it too. And besides, even if I were to warn you humans about it, you probably wouldn't listen. You humans were doomed right from the start." Tessa will say, "Hey, not every human wanted to kill your friends. You can't blame an entire species just because a few treated you wrong." Ratchet may be taking this lesson to Spark and leaves off screen as he thinks it over. The next scene is where Optimus would start to lose his faith on humanity, and this is a direct inspiration from Trans Theories, because this would be a great and perfect scene for Ratchet to reflect on his harsh criticism towards Cade, Tessa, and Shane, after all they have done to help them. Ratchet will listen into Cade and Optimus' conversation. Cade would express on how humans can make mistakes and how, if it wasn't for Cade, Optimus wouldn't be with his Autobots, and talks in a similar way Tessa does on explaining how complex humans can be, but there are good and bad people, and he needs to not let the bad ones judge his view on them. Ratchet would step in, reminding Prime about the speech he gave, particularly the part where he said he sees goodness in humans. It also lets him know that not all humans are bad while looking at Cade's direction, and apologize to Cade for being cold-hearted and how it was his error in judgment for directing his anger and frustration towards him and his family. Now this is where, again, I would like to use and take inspiration from Trans Theory's video.
Now later, Ratchet would help Hound and Bumblebee fight off the KSI drones and attend to any injuries taken. Now during this battle, Ratchet would slice and blast through any drones that came in his way, using both of his blasters to his advantage. And when Hound was tackled by two heads, he would shoot out one of its heads, while Hound blew out the other with his cigar. And for the sake of the story, Ratchet would 3v1 some KSI Traxes, along with single-handedly taking out a KSI boss by throwing his saw blade at its head. But as the second wave of drones came in, the three Autobots were overpowered by them, until Optimus and his group of Autobots charged in with the Dinobots, turning the tide of battle for the Autobots' favor. Now later in the film, Ratchet helped escort Cade and friends safely through the city, blocking all objects in their path.
Okay, here is where I would take over a bit. After Cade tells both Bumblebee and Ratchet to get out, Ratchet tells Cade that he believes in him and warns him about not to press his luck against Lockdown. So Ratchet and B drives off, heading for the bridge. Ratchet and B stop because Tessa wants to help her dad defeat Lockdown. Ratchet agrees, saying that this doesn't seem right, but I got a score to settle with Lockdown. We're with you. Let's go help Optimus Prime and Cade. Ratchet radios Crosshairs to temporarily lead the other Autobots and continue heading for the bridge while he goes to assist Bumblebee.
For the final battle, Ratchet would accompany B and Cade in taking down Lockdown, but when trying to pull out the sword from Optimus' chest, Ratchet got shot by Lockdown's gun, stunning him. Bumblebee would then tackle Lockdown and attempt to give Ratchet time to pull it out, which Ratchet would do. In the meantime, Lockdown got the upper hand on B and was about to extract the spark, but thanks to Ratchet pulling out the sword, it led to Optimus swiftly decapitating Lockdown before he could plunge a spark extractor into Bumblebee. Bumblebee would thank his comrades and Optimus would detonate Lockdown's grenade as B and Ratchet left the scene.
Sorry, I have to take over again. There are a few changes that I would like to make. For instance, once Ratchet recovers from being stunned by Lockdown, Ratchet angrily takes out his guns and starts shooting at Lockdown a couple of times while screaming, "You killed my best friend!" Lockdown grabs Bumblebee in the air and starts ragdolling him around, then throws him at Ratchet while saying, "Don't worry, you'll be joining him because you're all gonna die." Tessa and Shane will help Optimus get the sword out of him. Ratchet and Bumblebee take cover by a bunch of pillars, but Lockdown uses his shoulder rockets to disorient them. Ratchet uses his laser. Again, I don't know if it's the blinding one or the cutting type, but if it's the blind one, he can use it to his advantage, blinding him. Cade will take a couple of shots at Lockdown, and Bumblebee can use some hit and run tactics, confusing Lockdown. Lockdown uses his mask as his own advantage to locate Ratchet and Bumblebee. He managed to shoot both of them, incapacitating them. The rest of the movie will play out by itself. Tessa and Shane save Optimus. Optimus saves Cade. Optimus saves the humans. And Ratchet and Bumblebee clear the area before Lockdown's grenade goes off. And at the end, when the humans have a group hug and the camera will pan on Ratchet's face, smiling at the humans, showing that he still has a bit of hope for humanity and trusting them. Only just a little bit. Okay, for the last night, that is a can of worms that needs to be reworked. I honestly don't know what I would do with him in this situation because of how much I dislike this film. But let's just go with it. Let's just go with Trans Theory's idea.
5 years later, after Transformers Age of Extinction, Transformers The Last Night takes place. Now during The Last Night, Ratchet would hang around in a junkyard. He would help Cade create Bumblebee's splitting apart ability and participate in the creation of the mini Dinobots.
No, shut up!
I'm sorry but not sorry. I would not have the mini Dinobots there at all in the film. They literally serve no purpose other than being the dumb little cute things marketed towards people so they can sell toys. Like the whole Star Wars thing with the Porgs. Fucking Porgs. I'm not even sure if they have their own toys. Yeah, this is editor to me. I actually looked up and remember that they came with a package for the Last Night Drift. So, yeah. Sorry about that little rant, but I still think they're a waste of CGI. Instead, have Ratchet continue fixing Bumblebee's voice box. Now, he believes he fixed it, but he informs Bumblebee to keep using his voice box so his vocal cords can self-repair itself. Or have him teach Hound medical procedures. No wait, here's an even better idea. Ratchet can create and give Hound a hologram projector to use against his opponents, you know, for the sake of keeping it consistent with his character. Now, I'll let Trans Theory continue his side of the story.
strike. Once word came out that the Decepticons were heading to the junkyard, Ratchet volunteered to stay behind to help Trench and Hound, along with protecting the mini Dinobots. Now, as the Decepticons closed in, the three Autobots waited at their fixed locations. Once Hound gave the order, the three busted out of their hiding places to attack. Hound went for Megatron, while Trench went for Barricaded Onslaught. Unfortunately for Ratchet, he was at a 3v1. He was going up against Nitro Zeus, Mohawk, and Dreadbot, and if he wanted to survive, he would need to be quick on his feet. As Mohawk charged at Ratchet, Ratchet drew out a saw blade and decapitated him. He would use his head as a football, throwing it right at Dreadbot, nailing him in the head and stunning him. But as Nitro charged at him, Ratchet knew he wouldn't be able to outgun him, so instead he got out his laser and flashed it into Nitro's eye. It caused Nitro to stumble onto the gas station, but this victory wouldn't last long, as he saw Hound fly back due to a shot from Megatron's fusion cannon. He rushed over to help his friend and to give him medical attention. But as Hound said to Ratchet that there was no use and that it was game over, Ratchet came to the grim conclusion that they were gonna die. As he looked to his left, he heard the blood-curdling screams as Trench was ripped apart into two. As Megatron and his crew surrounded Ratchet and Hound, Hound told Ratchet to escape, but Ratchet denied, saying that he would not leave him to die alone. As Megatron came up to the two Autobots, he grabbed Ratchet by the throat and stated that if they didn't tell him where the location of the talisman was, the two would die. Hound lifted up his pistol, aiming it at Megatron, saying not a chance, but before he could shoot, Megatron charged up his fusion cannon, and Ratchet looked away as his friend was shot through the gut, killing him instantly. Ratchet tried to resist, but there was nothing he could do against Megatron's grip. Megatron repeated his question once again. Ratchet bravely responded never to this, and accepted his fate as Megatron crushed Ratchet's neck until nothing was left.
I honestly don't know how I feel about that. Don't get me wrong, it sounds like a good idea, and it does prove how much of a threat these Suicide Squad ripoffs really are, considering how much these Decepticons clown themselves more than actual clowns. But I honestly want to go with my version. I made a comment on Trans Theory's videos called What Happened to Trench. In that comment where I talk about Trench, I made some changes for the sake of this video, and if you'll follow with me, you'll understand why. Here's how it plays out. When Megatron raids the junkyard, there will be a small battle which will leave both Hound and Ratchet being fatally wounded. The Decepticons see Trench and thought about killing him for joining the Autobots. But Megatron would step in, convincing Trench to join them again by killing both Hound and Ratchet. Trench shoots them, and fast forward because I'll be writing too much and this video is long enough as it is. Pause. Trench out of nowhere betrays the Decepticons. Hound and Ratchet show up with the Dinobots. It was revealed that both Ratchet and Hound came up with an idea to fake their deaths with the hologram projector given by Ratchet, so Trench could leak info of the Decepticons' plan to Hound. And I'm sorry for doing this little rant, but why was Trench even there in the movie? He's a definition of a nothing character. I'm honestly surprised that he has less screen time than Jolt, and that's saying something. I don't know why he was even there. I know Michael Bay has his thing with product placement and showing new vehicle brands, but what's more important, story/character development or product placement? Because I can tell you, one of these things does not help the other. Overall, I really like Ratchet as a character from the Bayverse, but I wish they could have done more with his character. But they just never got around with it. And it would be really nice if they did something interesting with him. Okay, that's all I got for you today. Thank you all for taking the time to watch and hear my discussion on Ratchet's portrayal in the Bayverse. Because I really like his character. He has a unique design out of all the Transformers. And it would have been really nice to see these characters have some better treatment. The writers have potential for these characters, but they just never got around with it to make them more stand out and more noticeable. And hey, I'd like to know your thoughts on this discussion video. Do you like Ratchet's character the way it is? Or are you like me, wishing that the writers could have done something to make him more interesting instead of being a background character? Again, thank you for watching my video, and if you like this, I got another discussion video that will show up at the end. If you want other content, I got other Transformers memes, just so you can have a good couple of laughs, including with spin-offs if you like. I'm honestly not sure how long the next character video will be, but honestly, Hopefully it'll be more simple than what I came up with here. Anyway guys, thank you for sticking with me and listening for what I have to say. If you enjoyed this, be welcome to not only share this video with other Transformers fans, but become a groovy subscriber. And to you new viewers out there, welcome to my channel, Achimi1010. Enjoy, have a good time. Lastly, and more importantly, till all are one. Thank you. Thank you very much. See you.
Give the video a like. Give the video a shout out. Above all, give the channel a groovy subscriber.